This is Robert Mardlachi, the Mindshare Learning Report, Canada's Learning and Technology e-magazine. And welcome to This Week in Canadian EdTech, a very special edition. I'm honored to have join me for a Mindshare Learning Moment, Alana Winnick, who is the author, podcaster, at Generative Age, speaker, EdTech director at Pocantico Hills Central School District, on her new book, The Generative Age, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of AI. Thank you for joining me this afternoon,
Thank
Alana.
you so much for having me.
Well, it was so great to meet you at NICEGate last week. What a great statewide conference it was. You're on the board of directors.
Yeah,
You're Google ISTE certified. Uh, I'm surprised we've never met before.
no.
And so great to connect with you and your new book. I was amazed. I think there were three books authors at the conference that were focusing on AI. What inspired the book?
So it was funny. I never actually dreamed of being an author. It was never on my to-do list. It's never something I aspired to be. I actually never thought I was a good writer. Like, just didn't think it was my strength. And then when the pandemic the pandemic, sorry. That's a different conversation that led to so it's sort of related. So when the pandemic
Absolutely.
happened, I thought that I was so excited that not about the pandemic, but that education was going to be where it should have been in 2020, not even going forward, but where it should have been. And then it kind of went back to the way things were. But then when
Right.
AI came out, I was like, we can't go backwards. There's no going back now. So we need to change things. So when that happened, I took it as a moment because with the pandemic, I felt like, here's an analogy, like there's a flood and you're just cleaning up the flood, but you're not like plugging the hole. And with AI, I was like, no, let's attack this from like the bigger end of it and help people understand it. Instead of wasting my time doing little webinars, I launched what is now a podcast, interviewing thought leaders.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it started as this podcast, and I was curious, and I was on a quest for knowledge. So I started this web show through NiceGate, which turned into a podcast, and it was just me trying to understand what this meant. And then I was like, school leaders don't understand what this means for education. And it's nothing I do is a how to. I don't teach you prompts or how to do it. It's more about the future of education in a world with artificial intelligence. And so I'm like, maybe the ed tech people, they kind of get it, but the
Right.
school leaders have no idea what this means. So I started to write, like, when you're traveling, let's say you're going to like Europe, you're going to like Italy,
Right.
and you get like a little guidebook, like guidebook to Italy, guidebook to
Right.
Spain. And I was like, a school leader's not going to read a whole book. I'm making this little quick guide. Like, what do they need to know? Basic facts. So I
Really
started,
practical
yeah.
and
So
how
I
to.
started putting together just like a quick and dirty quick guide for a school leader. And then a couple people were like, okay, you have a podcast. Next up is a book. And I was like, no, but I'm actually working on something. And they connected me with a bunch of publishers. And then the publishers
Amazing.
were like, this is not for just for school leaders. And this is not a quick guidebook. This is a book and it's for everyone. And we want you to write more. And I was like, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. And then it turned into a book. And it's for everyone.
Amazing.
But that was
And
the
con-
journey.
and congratulations. And how did you conduct your research on generative AI and its impact on education? You are self-taught
Yeah.
essentially around AI.
I think though that, like, I'll open this for you to see.
Yeah.
Nothing I'm really suggesting is a brand new, like, I'm not suggesting anything brand new. So I have chapter 8, rebooting education 2.0 strategies for teaching in the generative age. So I'm calling this era an age
I
of
like the
generative
generative
artificial
age.
intelligence.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So there's all different things we know work, right? Like the flipped classroom, design thinking, project-based learning. There's a lot of data behind that already. I'm not suggesting anything that's not already proven to work. I think what's different about this time, like post ChatGPT, when that was released, and now there's a bunch of tools, but it's actually today marks the 1-year anniversary of ChatGPT's release, literally today.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Good
So
timing.
yeah, exactly 1 year ago today, I think that what we really need to take from this is that AI can produce the end product for us, like an essay or something. Let's just call it an end product. It might not do it as good as us. I don't think it does. I think that adding our
Right.
human, like our personality and our human intelligence into it makes it better. But what we need to do in education is not like let's just use an essay because it's the easiest one. Don't assess
Right.
the end product, the essay. You need to really assess the learning process and how the student got to the essay. And also, are they growing? Because I could be producing the same essay year after year, but I'm not growing. So,
Right.
assessing the student's growth and assessing the learning process instead of the end product.
Fascinating. How do you define generative AI for the newbies, and what are some of the most exciting examples of its applications in various domains and disciplines, if you will?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that's how I got my book and podcast, The Generative Age. So generative AI, generative artificial intelligence, means that AI is generating content. So AI is in everything. It's like, like an Alexa. I don't want to say it too loud because I have one. Or like
It's gonna
Google
start.
Home, it's
It's
in your
gonna start
car,
listening to you.
Siri. I know. Or like Siri. Those are all AIs, but they're not generating content. So
Right.
there's a like text-based AI generators, which a lot of us are familiar with, like a ChatGPT or a Bing or a Bard. And I think the one that people don't use as much, but it's actually my favorite to integrate into curriculum, is image generators. And it's really awesome because it brings your writing to life. And so I've
Right.
used it in young elementary grades, and the students have to be super descriptive and super literal, or the AI will not generate an image that's what they are envisioning in their mind. So we've seen their writing grow so fast just by putting it in an image generator and watching what happens. And then I've even used it in foreign language where the students are learning a language, and then you take that and you pop it in image generator, and you get to it's really cool because you could visualize the writing, and then
Yes.
it's not the teacher being so critical on the student. The student sees all these feedback and suggestions, and it's not the teacher anymore. It's like, well, the AI is not producing the image that you're thinking about, so let's take a step back and see what we could do together to help solve the
Right.
problem.
It
So
reminds me of Alec Couros, who keynoted at our conference recently in Ottawa, and
mhm.
he was making his way home, flying home, and he obviously used the generative image AI tool to put him in the pilot seat,
Oh,
looking like a pilot. It was hilarious.
that's funny. And you saw my picture in the book. That's not me.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a
I mean, it's
great picture.
amazing. Thank
I had
you.
it up on the board
I
earlier.
didn't I didn't pose for it, so I can't take credit, but thanks.
But it's incredible how, but it so it incorporates your look though. It's an
Yeah.
enhancer.
Yeah,
Is
but
that
also with image generation, what I'll tell you is the talk that I did at NiceGate, what I found was if I'm if I'm trying to make a point and you want a visual that helps drive your point home. Like
right?
one thing that I had was something about how you could like stray from the path, the regular path, and help learners identify like who
Yeah,
they are and what they're capable of. And I wanted a very distinct image of like a path that's like most people are taking and a off the beaten road kind of path.
yeah.
And I got to go back and use Canva I use like Adobe, Firefly, I use Canva, I use Bing,
Wow,
so many of them. And I could edit existing images and say, add more moss here, put rocks here, and I
yeah,
could edit
amazing. And what tool was that?
Firefly, sorry,
Firefly.
Adobe Firefly and Canva are the two that I use the most.
We use
Um,
Canva every day.
yeah, I love Canva.
This framework was designed with
Oh
Canva.
wow.
Yeah, we love
Yeah.
it, and it's such a practical tool. And for education, I believe it's free, isn't
It's
it?
free. I know,
Yeah,
and it's And they signed on to our data privacy and security regulations for New York State. So every school district can use it in New York State for free, which is,
Remarkable.
yeah.
And you're in New York City.
Yes, I'm in New York City.
And that inspired an AI project that I'm working on while I sat at the airport trying to help solve the challenges uh, around cost of living and where to live. And I'm
Don't move
working on
here. Don't move here.
no, and so it's the platform is going to be called Livable. Live
Mm,
well, be happy. So it's going to
I
be
love that.
AI generated suggestions based on a number of metrics where to live sustainably.
Not New
And
York City.
yeah, well, Toronto is not far off, or Vancouver for that matter. So, but when you put in metrics around your health and your culture and your recreational interests and your income and affordability and your career and all those elements, it will recommend. So I'm, you know,
I love
I'm
that.
I'm I'm getting off topic a bit, but um, it's related to what our
No,
conversation
I mean,
around generative age.
yeah, generative AI or AI can really help us do so many things. Like, it can really help make everything easier. Like, I use it for every single thing I do.
Yeah. What are some of the risks? What are some of the ethical challenges
Yeah, so
as
that is
well?
that.
And how can educators and leaders address them? Because from what I gather, you can't have a walled garden around your district or your
No,
state.
no, that's a
No,
really that's a loaded and great question. So we'll
no,
talk
you're
about
correcting me. Like
n-
you're.
no, I'm not correct.
Oh, I'm. Oh, okay.
No,
So you
no, I
can. No,
no.
but
Oh wait,
no
oh
is an
so
expression you're
oh wait, you're
using.
asking if you can have a
Yeah,
walled garden. Okay, so well, let's take a step back from that because I know when we were communicating before, you were talking about banning. So we just want to touch on the banning thing before the ethical
yeah.
considerations because I think that districts ban for certain reasons. And
New York,
first of
New
all,
York City originally banned,
I know, I know.
and they
Luckily,
came
I
around.
don't work in New York City. I live here, but I work outside the city, so I didn't
But
have
they
that.
came around, and
Yeah,
at the EdTech week, they talked about creating an institute, an incubator for AI. So to deal with it head on, they announced that in the
yeah.
fall, which is quite quite impressive.
No, I mean, New York City, I've seen a lot of great projects come out of there. I'll share with you. There's this article that they published in the New York Times about a really innovative lesson. Actually, goes to your question about the ethical considerations because they did a whole lesson with the students around ethical considerations. I'll share the link with you after. It was a
Hmm.
really good article. So banning and ethical. So what happens, I think, is a lot of people are either they banned it, but now it's open for teachers. They don't let students use it, but they do let teachers use it. And I just think that there's already like a digital divide already that exists. And with the pandemic, we tried to close that by providing students with devices. But the reality is, when a student graduates into the real world, they're going to use it, period. Because this is what I always say: will AI take your job? Maybe, maybe not. But someone who uses AI probably will take your job because they're going to be more efficient than you. They're going to be less burnt out. They're going to have more time. They're going to get work done quicker than you. So someone that uses it will. So, or might, I don't want to say will. You're not going to get fired. But students, when they graduate into the real world, will use it. So we need to prepare students for the future where they will use it. And by blocking it, the students that have a phone or have a device at home are going to use it. It's a student that
100%.
don't have their own cell phone because they can't afford it, or they don't have another device. And now we're widening this gap, and they're at an unfair disadvantage. They were already at an unfair disadvantage, and we're making it worse.
Yeah.
So just thinking about something like that, I think, but then the ethical considerations of the AI itself. So there are like deep fakes. You've probably seen videos where it looks like people are saying
Right.
that they're not saying. So that's something to be really considerate about. There's a lot of hallucinations. So when AI doesn't know the answer, it acts really confident and gives you what sounds like it's probably a good answer,
Right.
but it's not. So there's a lot of misinformation. There's a a lot of bias and discrimination baked into that. Like everything from like gender to race to political, but I mean, there's a lot of bias because it's getting the information from what's already out there. So there's biased information out there, and it's just regurgitating bias.
So hence uh, requiring to prepare the students with essential skills.
Yeah.
What are some of those
Oh,
essential skills,
oh
right?
my
I mean,
goodness.
digital
You
citizenship,
just set this up perfect.
critical thinking,
I
the
know.
we call them the 7 C's that we created in Canada,
Okay.
C21
So
Canada.
I know you didn't read my full book yet because I just gave it to you. But in my book, I have a passport to success.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I put 10 skills that I think students need. And one of them,
Put that back up. I'm going to take a screenshot of that.
it's on page 86.
Yeah. This is such a practical podcast.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So one of them is it's ethics and responsible AI use. So just like media literacy, where we teach students to question the source, right? Like digital literacy, media literacy, question the source.
Yeah.
We have AI literacy now. They need to question the output. They need to make sure that it's factual. They can back it up with reliable resources. There's no bias in it. So it's the same as media literacy, but now it's like AI literacy. And I think the biggest thing that I tell teachers and students around this ethical thing, and I did this. So this was actually, I learned this, and I know we were talking about him just before, about Richard Collada, is CCO.
Yes.
And so I sat down with him for 1 hour when I was writing the book, and he's written into it. I rewrote my whole book through this one lens. I actually wrote him into the book too, so you'll see his name. But
Too bad we didn't meet sooner. You might have written me into the book.
Yeah, I would have. He gave me this homework assignment, and I really found it fascinating, and I put it in the book. If you open your acceptable use policy, like your school or your district or your class policy, either open it and you count the number of do's and you count the number of don'ts. It's a laundry list of things you should not do when it's called an acceptable use policy. So I went and I rewrote my whole acceptable use policy. And what I tell all educators is like to not focus on academic dishonesty, to focus on academic integrity and things that you should do and what you want them to do.
Brilliant.
And things like, okay, if you want students to use it, then you need to supervise it. So they need to attach a link to that chat so the teacher can see how the student used AI for that assignment.
Fascinating. Now, do you realize that you're way further ahead? Like you are obviously an early adopter.
Yeah.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the laggards, right?
Right.
In Canada, after spending time, I mean, we just hosted our conference coming directly. I was in Costa Rica at an international conference, and AI was the rage. And then coming to NICE and seeing the actual books being published, you're quite a bit further ahead than we are. Probably
I'm
about
to help you. I'm here to help.
Yeah, no, I mean we're and this is part of the journey. It's about storytelling, right?
Yeah.
It's about informing storytelling. You mentioned you did a TED Talk style presentation.
Mhm.
Now challenging that was and how you grew from that.
Oh yeah.
And now you've inspired me to want to do that as well.
You have to do it. I'll be your mentor.
There you go. And I think, fear, right, is one of the greatest motivators. And everyone feared Google when it first came out in education. Google. I'm from the era when I got my Texas Instruments calculator. It was banned for math class.
Yeah.
Right? Google was banned.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah.
And
that's it's in the book. I said we used to say if a question's Googleable, it's not a good question. Now, if an assignment is ChatGPTable, it's not a good assignment. It's just not.
And so what are faculties of education? How are they pivoting? Because the challenge is preparing our future teachers as well as, you got pre-service and in-service teachers. And one of the educators that was at my conference who is innovative, tech savvy, she said, I just don't have the time to get brushed up on it. I've been so busy. How are the teachers doing in your district? They seem overwhelmed here.
So
It's
so
right.
what I think that you just need to put it in their hands. And so what I find is that every other initiative I have, it's like a burden, right? Like you have to find the time, you have to get buy-in. There's a lot of
Right.
things you need to go through and carefully and delicately roll something out. With this, it was actually the easiest thing I've ever rolled out because when they realize how much time it could save them. So the US Department of Education published a report a while ago. I actually put the statistics in the book too. This is so fun that here. So they published this report. 49% of a teacher's time is spent in front of students. Only 49% of time. That means 51% of their time is spent doing other things. So if you can help them save them time, they're going to be less burnt out. They're going to have more time to spend with their students and they're going to be happier. So what I did was actually my own teachers don't even know I wrote a book. Well, some do if they like helped me read
Right.
more, but most don't. So I empower my teachers. So I pick the ones that I know where I've worked with them for and know they're doing
Right.
it well. And then during a faculty meeting, I just do like a lightning round station rotation. I pick like 3 teachers and they each get 10 minutes and they share one thing that's very short and applicable. And then the teachers try it and then they rotate to the next room and they walk
Brilliant.
out with
Brilliant.
and they've tried it. So one of them, the teacher created a prompt and it was how to get a like AI to write a lesson for you. And all
Right.
the teacher had to do was fill in their grade level, their subject area, and the unit and how whatever information it was. They plug in the information and they copy it and paste it and they got a whole lesson plan. And they're like, whoa, that's amazing. And when they have that moment, they're like, this is gonna save me time. Now they're gonna use it all the time. So you just have to give them, you have to put it in their hands, let them sit down, let them try it, and it's the easiest initiative you're ever going to
Yeah.
have.
Brilliant. I not to name drop, I was invited down to the Dell briefing in
Mhm.
Austin around the F1 race, and
Ooh,
Michael Dell joined our meeting for 20
cool.
minutes and
Oh my
talked to
goodness.
us about the impact of AI
Mhm.
uh, in the future in our world. And he talked about efficiencies, and they anticipate 30% efficiency. So apply that
Mhm.
to education. If
Yeah,
a teacher could spend 30% more time
I
with
know.
their students, if they leverage, you know, the minutia, getting rid of the minutia, and the administrative uh, tasks that can be streamlined
I
and
know.
automated through
Amazing.
generative AI. So I totally see the value and the potential. It's just a matter, like you did in your lightning round, your project, your meetings there. It's demonstrating and showing them hands on, right? Very much hands
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
activities. How did you embrace the innovative
Ugh.
spirit and EdTech? How did you have a mentor, or what
I'm
was the TSN turning point for you?
It's so funny because I was an elementary educator, but it was very short-lived. It was 2 years. It was very hard to find a job at that time. And that was when like smart boards came out and
Yes.
I was making these really engaging lessons on a smart board, smart notebook. And everyone's like, "How'd you do that? How'd you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know, it's easy. I'll show you." And that kind of became my favorite part of my job when it wasn't my job and I didn't know it was a job. And
Right.
then I couldn't find a job. And so I was like, I need health insurance and benefits because we're not like Canada. We don't have that automatically. So I took a job as a computer lab teaching assistant just to have insurance.
Wow.
And I automated my whole job, literally automated it. And I basically got rid of my job that I was hired to do and I started being like a tech coach and building a job and I it literally just and then every job I've had after that, my past 3 jobs were did not exist before me. It didn't exist. So it's just a I just get excited. I guess I'm not scared. You talked about failure before. Like this is a time where we're all learning, we're all growing. You can't if you think about failures like first attempt in learning, like try it, explore,
Hmm.
try it with like it's okay. If it doesn't go perfect, that's okay. And I think it's just embracing a culture of like innovation and having a mindset where I don't know, what's that cheesy sports quote? It's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Oh my
Like, just
God, I have this sign in my office right here. That's
really?
Wayne Gretzky, who I
Yeah.
played against growing up, by the way,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
incidentally.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yes,
But it's true. Just try it.
yes,
You could do something magical. But you have to try.
100%. What what's in store for you in the coming year? Where do you see, if you could wave a magic wand, a year from now, you know,
I
pro,
If you asked me this last year and you told me next in 1 year you're going to be a published author, have a podcast, do a TED talk based not a TED actual TED talk, but a TED talk on a stage with over 1,000 people, I would tell you you were crazy. So I have no idea. I cannot even think that far ahead in my life.
that's
I'm just gonna go with
remarkable,
it. Yeah,
Lana. It's remarkable what you've accomplished. That in itself, what you've accomplished, embracing generative AI is a testament to what the possibilities are
yeah,
for your peers and colleagues and educators around the world. So,
yeah.
thank you so much for the inspiration today. Any final thoughts to share before we wrap this up? Because I'm sure you've got a few things to get to, no doubt.
I don't know. That's hard. Just it's evolving. It's changing. Just keep up. Not You don't really have to keep up with it. Just try it. Like if you've never tried AI before, just try it. And if you're not sure where to start, there's plenty of resources out there. I'll share some with you so you can include them. And
Yes.
if you want to try it with your students, there's lots of classroom rules that I think are not, very positive rules. So I think all about making it a positive experience for everyone.
Yeah, and seeing the glass half full, not half
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
Well, with that, thank you so much again,
Thank you for having
Alana.
me.
That was Alana Winnick, author, podcaster of the generative age, speaker, EdTech director at the
Lots of
Pocantic,
titles. Lots of titles.
Pocantico Hills Central School Division on her new book, The Generative Age, Artificial Intelligence, and the Future of Education. And where can they get that book?
It's on Amazon. So if you just look up the generative age, it's on Amazon.
And how's it doing so far?
I don't know. I think it's doing well. I can't log in and see because the publisher sends you reports, so I don't know.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, this clearly was a passion project, and it's not about the money.
No. No, I
And
didn't. I did not do it for
right,
money.
and kudos to you for your leadership and inspiration. So great to meet you,
Yeah.
and so great to have mutual friends and
Yeah.
colleagues like
Yeah.
the Kuros brothers and Aman Sahoda
Yeah. So
and
funny. There's probably a
many
laundry
others.
list.
And
We could
Bearish.
probably go
Oh,
through.
by the way, yes, I'm going to bring this book and show Bearish from ClassLink
Yeah.
that I have it and he doesn't, and
Yeah.
that he should get one soon.
Yeah.
With that, thank you again. My name is Robert Merdolacci, the Mindshare Learning Report. Be sure to check out www.mindshare learning to get your latest issue. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.